Previously on Dan versus D.
Okay, here's a perspective that I'm going to posit as a lifelong Celtics fan. I would say I really didn't follow them as much when I was a kid, obviously, but for many years. And I think this gets into the same like what is sports for kind of question is. Right now, looking at this team's season, and I think we can basically pencil them in as being done. They're not going to win the series, so their season is over for all intents and purposes.
But as you said, this season has been a success, though.
That's my point. I honestly, as a Celtics fan, have gotten the exact amount of entertainment out of this team this year that I wanted. And so, from that perspective, yes, would I have loved to see them win the finals? Yeah, totally. But I didn't go in expecting that to happen, I guess. And maybe that's the difference between expectations and sort of desires. But I had fun. I enjoyed watching the Wizards series. I enjoyed watching the regular season games that I saw them play. Last year, I enjoyed seeing them beat the Warriors at the end of the year. That was fun. But
I still think the Warriors got robbed there.
Yeah. But that's my point, is that, so, honestly, if they're going to draft a rookie and wait it out for the next couple of years and lose to LeBron in the playoffs every year, I'm honestly okay with that. So, maybe that is wrong, maybe that makes me, a bad fan or not enthusiastic enough, but I just feel kind of realistic about it, that, the alternative, again, is kind of blowing, it's pushing all your chips into the middle of the table and saying, well, I really, really want to win with Marcus Smart. And I can't say that that's necessarily the wrong thing to do, but as a fan, I honestly would rather than sort of the slightly bigger chance of getting past LeBron in the next 2 years, I would rather see the team essentially be a good team for the next 6 years. To me, that's more valuable of having a fun, engaging, entertaining team to watch every year, because to me it's an entertainment product. I've seen my team win in my lifetime. It's not a desperate need for me to see them win a championship, if that makes sense.
7 years later.
This crowd on its feet, the best team in basketball all year. All the work, all the sacrifice, handling the enormous weight of massive expectations. Ends tonight here. It's over. Time to say it again, Boston. Anything's possible. Banner number 18 has been secured. The Celtics are NBA champions.
Man, I've been waiting for 3 years to do this once again. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all around the world, we bring you another ribbon edition of the Dan vs. D Sports and Self Podcast with initials DVD, as in DVD player, on your player, D with 2 E's, and always beside me, normally to the left of me, is Dan with an A-N. That's Dan, the man he can.
We are pumped
and back and better than ever. Or about the same, but we're back either way.
Stealing a Kevin O'Connor line from 8 years ago. We're pumped and jacked.
Anytime I hear 8 years ago, I think of Ray J from the song One Wish. He was like, as a matter of fact, I was the one who said I love you first. It was 8 years ago. Don't act like you don't know.
Oh man! Speaking of 8 years ago, the reason, and I closed the tab, but I wanted to go back to our Podbean really quickly because I wanted to look for something specific. So if you go all the way back, The Math Doesn't Work was released on July 14th, 2017. That is literally almost to the day 7 years ago. I know that's a little bit of a misleading number because we've been away for a while, but that is still 7 years.
Why the hell did you have to say that, man? I'm already feeling old. Why'd you have to make me even feel even old? It's bad enough we see athletes like, you know, go to the pros that they've been knowing that they were born in like 2000. So like now 7 years ago. But no, seriously though, that's honestly that's an honor. Like,
yes,
for real.
So might as well address the elephant in the room. Obviously, we've been away for a little bit. There are a number of reasons for that we'll maybe get into later.
We were kidnapped by life.
Really? Yeah, I mean, that really is the real answer. You know, I mean, I think, you know, if you existed at any point, you know what happened in 2020.
The world broke.
Everybody simultaneously broke for like 2 years.
And some people built computers. I know I did.
I guess I rebuilt mine, kind of.
You rebuilt yours like 3 times.
Something like that. Yeah. Although I also had a CPU actually fail completely, and I had to rebuild my computer from that.
Man.
Although they did cover it under the warranty, so.
Yeah, but either way, you're a pro since you're like a pro from since then.
Oh yeah.
And building.
But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to, spoiler alert, but I think we're gonna maybe cover this more in the Deetalks segment. But the short version is just like life happened, you know. I go through these phases where, like, sometimes I get depressed and it's difficult for me to do shit. We both got busy.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. We,
you get depression and stuff. I know the feeling, like, in different ways. So,
yeah. And it isn't just that, too. It's like,
yeah,
you know,
adults.
When you're, you know, I mean, everybody knows this. I think that's been an adult at any point. Like, you constantly have, like, a million things pulling you in different directions. Mm-hmm. And it really is easy to just get lost in like the day to day and kind of lose sight of, you know, I mean, anybody that's ever tried to go to the gym consistently knows this, right? Like, you know, if you don't like maintain the habit and keep the momentum going, you know, you lose it. And then this weird thing happens where like time keeps passing and it feels like it's almost like a reverse sunk cost fallacy where it's like, it's been so long that you almost feel weird going back. And it's like,
yeah,
the real answer is honestly, when you go back
it's
to what
fascinating. Yeah.
When you go back to whatever thing it is, it's like muscle memory, like picking up. This always happens to me when I pick up Star Fox 64. Like the first like 2 minutes is like difficult, but then the muscle memory kicks in and I'm like, oh man, 150 kills on Corneria.
It's like, and you take the hardest path and you like, you know, full complete it or something like that. And you're like, yeah. Like, I know how to do this.
And I would say, I feel like it's already, like, I haven't been in front of a hot mic in a long time. And it already feels very natural, so.
It's like, I'm thinking of 2 songs here. Like, thinking of, I forget who sung the song, but like, it's like, reunited and it feels so good. That one. And then Tony. It feels good. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I feel about it.
You have to send me those because I'm not familiar with either of those songs.
Tony, that song they used that in that Purge episode of Rick and Morty.
Oh, I don't think I saw that one.
I don't watch it, but I know I've seen clips of that. And I just remember that clip because of Tony.
So we're back. We are mostly here because a long-running, I would say, subplot on our show is the quest of the Boston Celtics for Banner 18. And that, you know, I am here to gloat.
I ain't got nothing to say. I'm a Bulls fan, so.
I am here to beat my chest a little bit. It happened. The Boston Celtics are the 2024 NBA champions. And we are largely here to discuss that because it's sort of like a lot of like catharsis after many years of like trying and getting close and not quite pulling it off.
Edging.
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't going to say it, but
you were thinking it.
Yeah.
Delayed gratification. Yes.
This is the newer, like, raunchier DVD.
Like New Age. We're New Age outlaws.
Ooh.
Actually, no. I think that's WWE copyright. Don't sue me, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn.
Oh, man.
No.
We're gonna get sued by Sam Hinkie, obviously. I think it's
you always gotta trust the process. To this day, whenever I'm going through tough times and my wife is telling me like to like be patient and stuff, she has the reoccurring phrase of like, sometimes you gotta trust the process, and like it's just so golden, man.
I mean,
and it would not have been possible without this podcast.
It's true. And I would say, like, in real life, that is great advice. It's just not great advice when you're losing on purpose for 5 years, only to become a team that loses in the first round every year.
Oh, man.
But, you know, not to do that whole thing again. But anyway, the Celtics are the champions.
Finally, it happened to me right front of my face. I'm just so excited. I'm in a music mood today.
You really are. Yeah.
Music's my life.
I'm gonna fucking like auto-tune you.
Okay, so I didn't watch too much of the regular season. I watched some bits and pieces because, you know, hey, games on and stuff. You know, I was too busy watching like every now and then peeking in the Hornets getting their butts whooped. But
yeah. Not a fun year for them.
Yeah. Just watching the Celtics, because like I remember from the season beginning, I was like, yes, I'm a Bulls fan, but like I really was like watching the standings or watching like the Celtics play, and just from the beginning of the season, I was just like really just wanting them to go all the way, because it stems back from two years prior when you and I think I can't speak for you, but I feel like personally that was their championship that they just had snatched from them from the Warriors.
Yeah,
like that should have been theirs.
They
took a 2-0 lead, right, and then like lost.
They had a 2-1 lead, and they had a 10-point lead in Game 4.
And then Curry happened. Curry and Wiggins.
Yeah, and Wiggins.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, that was like a very like Eli Manning coded moment.
Man.
Of like a career like extremely average player just suddenly becoming a world beater when it's against a Boston team.
I mean, he wasn't a you talking about Wiggins?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't a number 1 overall pick for nothing.
No, I mean, a talented guy, but like he's you know, in that, I mean, really what happened there is in that situation, he found the perfect job. He didn't have to be the number 1. He just got to like play lockdown defense and knock down shots.
It's also called not playing for the Timberwolves.
And I mean, he gave Tatum fits during that series, and it was a problem.
Yeah. You said Tatum?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he gave him fits. But when I was looking, I was like, I was a Boston fan. Like, I mean, I'm a surrogate Boston fan because of this guy here, and also by default of like being a Patriots fan.
Oh yeah.
Like people are still amazed that I'm still like I'm a Patriots fan and live anywhere near there. So I'm just like, okay, well I might as well like root for the other teams, but for some reason I don't root for the Bruins. So like they're the odd team out. But like them, Red Sox, and and of course the Patriots. But I just wanted them to win this one so bad. Like from the beginning, like from tip off week to the final buzzer of the finals, like, because that heartbreak that they experienced a couple years ago, I wanted them so bad to win it, and I was thinking this: if they didn't get it done this year, I really thought the door would just kind of start really closing.
Probably.
Yeah, because you had guys like Horford who was running out of time and stuff, and this was like now or never for him because he was like 37 or 38 and stuff. It's just like and then I got tired of the narrative. Can these two guys play together? Can Tatum and Brown play together? Can they win a chip together? You can't win with them. Oh, why they overpay Brown? He sucks. Oh, he can't dribble. Oh, he's not this and that. Oh, Tatum shrinks in big games and this and that. Oh, they're gonna really regret giving up like trading away Marcus Smart and it's just all of this mess. But then something happened. started winning. Kept winning. They kept winning. And they kept winning. Lose a little, but keep winning and keep winning. Go to playoffs.
They were like remarkably consistent the whole year. Pretty much start to finish.
Yeah. And then you have the front office making those little moves that were that was slept on. They added KP. It's like, okay, he's injured stuff. But when he played, he elevated the team. And then you get underrated clutch himself, Drew Holiday. Good offense, good defense. You needed that guy. He elevated your team.
Yeah.
Like, that was like Marcus Smart, but more consistency on the offensive end.
Yep.
Then you had Derek White taking that a step forward.
That was a fucking master trade right there.
And then you have Al Horford, like, proving why he should be like a case study. Like, what is in his water or something, because he just keeps finding the fountain of youth.
Yep.
Like, Al apologies, that Al Horford. Finally. And I really honestly was rooting for, I wanted for Tatum and Brown just to like put those narratives to bed.
Yep.
But the most important person, I wanted it for Al, because he worked his butt off. All these years have come so close. I wanted it the most for him. And then they run through the playoffs, and then you got pretty much no problems. I mean, yes, a lot of injuries happened in the East.
Yeah, let's be honest. The Red Sea kind of parted for them, at least in the East.
I mean, it's the same. It's like the same injury gods that like zap the Warriors for the Raptors.
Yep.
It's like, Halliburton, zap, Spider, zap, like
Jimmy Butler,
zap. They weren't gonna make it anyway because they weren't consistent.
But that was also, I mean, I know Jimmy didn't play, but that was also a little bit of revenge for last year when they had that whole crazy. They went down 3-0 and then came back, and then Jason Tatum turned his ankle in Game 7, and that was that.
Yeah.
And
then go to the finals, and then like a little injury tickle to Luka because he wasn't 100%. So like that impacted some.
But also the other thing is they had Kristaps go down in like the second game of the playoffs, and he basically didn't come back until the finals.
Honestly,
and then really wasn't 100%.
But here's the thing, though. I think just for that one game, I think that not the only thing, but I think that was like if there was like 3 reasons why y'all won, like if someone was to take 3 reasons why they won that championship series, I would put that as like 3B.
Yeah.
Cause like he exploded in the first game. Like that set the tone for the rest of the series. If he doesn't have that and y'all dominate in that fashion, that game 1 and just come out the gates just swinging like that, I think it goes to 6 or 7. Like that danger zone.
Probably.
KP just like it's almost like the as I talked to you like off the mic, it made me reminisce of Percy Harvin. They got him and and KP just basically like just returns like a touchdown. Yeah. Like, and it's like, hey, if I think you Harvin was saying like, well, if I give him like a touchdown or something, like the signing, like I think they were the front office saying like if he can give us like a touchdown or something in the Super Bowl, that signing was all worth it. Yeah. KP like did that and like gave y'all that surge y'all needed and that momentum to like just to take that game 1 and not look back pretty much.
I always think back to different situation, but the David Price on the Red Sox, that contract was largely a disaster. For the Red Sox because he really didn't pitch that well while he was there. But except in 2018 when Chris Sale went down towards the end of the year and then wasn't really the same.
That contract didn't live up to the hype.
Well, no. But David Price actually pitched really well in the World Series that year and helped them beat the Dodgers. And that was like their last hurrah before they just destroyed the franchise. Yeah. Anyway, that's a different story.
But did he like pitch in a World Series in the past?
He did. If you remember the 2008 Rays, he pitched. He was actually a rookie on that team. He came out of the bullpen that year. Yeah,
but you can't replace experience.
Yeah,
there you go.
So I think the thing to do is to start with this season and then kind of zoom out and contextualize it. So
it's like you're editing like a timeline on like a video, like a video editor or something.
Yeah. You zoom way out and then drop in like a random clip of like me looking at the camera. But anyway, so I think the thing is this year, a couple of different things needed to happen. One, the off season. So that's the other thing is, when we last left you, Brad Stevens was the coach.
Wow, it's been that long.
He effectively kind of like retired basically and like took a promotion to be the GM, which was also another kind of thing where we were all kind of like head scratching, like, really?
He failed upwards.
I wouldn't say that because he was a great coach. They gave him the most important job in the front office,
and then they gave the job. Then they hired a good coach in Ime Udoka, and then he squandered it.
Yep. and that was the other thing.
He was fired.
That was the other thing is he and everybody really thought he'd lost the locker room at first because that team started 25-25, and then something changed, and he kind of got through to them, especially getting them to play lockdown defense and. They basically rode that defense all the way to the finals that year. And that was basically like what the Mavericks did this year, where they kind of just went on like an improbable run when they kind of like figured it out due to like smart coaching and great role players and stuff.
I mean, you never bet against Jason Kidd. And also, all those teams were pretty much young. Like by default, they had the advantage of like just having Luka and Kyrie. You can't replace that type of experience. So young offenses, young teams kind of wilt under pressure when you face like guys that have been there before. Yeah, and show you what time it is.
And we'll get there when we kind of talk about the overall NBA. But like that's basically what happened to the Thunder. They kind of like couldn't stand up to the pressure just from their youth and inexperience.
What a pro want. What a pro.
Thinking again back over like our back catalog of episodes and our obsession with the James Harden Chris Paul ad.
That was my replacement.
It's like that was like a poor imitation of kind of the same thing. And, it was fine. It didn't catch me in the same way, but it was fine.
But it had Chris Paul, and like what really made it, other than James Harden's face, was Trevor Ariza bought in.
Yeah, he did.
That's what really sells it.
Yeah. And funny that none of those guys are on the Rockets anymore.
Chris Paul still gets commercials, though.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
So a couple of things needed to happen for the Celtics this year. So there's the offseason. Which was huge. There's like a couple of moments. So one, Brad Stevens, again, in his sort of relatively new role as the GM, because you kind of went, okay, there's like something missing. This team doesn't really totally have the sauce for whatever reason. So he went ahead and made a move, and he sent out Marcus Smart, most notably, who was, that's the thing, like, Smart was like the heart and soul of the team for like 9 years or whatever. He was one of the first players drafted when Brad Stevens got there.
He was one of my favorite. He was one of my favorite Celtics.
He was mine too, with that like green hair. And he was somebody that like totally bought into the city, the fans, the whole idea of the franchise, and like having a culture and the history and everything. Like the problem is he was an amazing defensive player and could like occasionally hit 3-pointers, but was just never like a great offensive player.
When he went cold, he went stone cold.
And
like yikes cold.
And the problem is he had a little bit of that Russell Westbrook thing where in crunch time, he would just go, "F it, I'm taking this shit over. This ain't happening tonight. I'm doing this." And he would like be trying to go to the rim and stuff like he's LeBron in like key moments in big games. And it just didn't quite work. And
sometimes break it.
And it's also like, there's also a little bit of a weird thing when your leader of the team is like a role player, even though he's like an amazing role player, but like it's still not one of the stars. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
you got to put it in like the big time guys' hands down the stretch most of the time.
yeah.
Unless they're like triple colored or something.
And that's been a criticism of Brown and Tatum over the years, is that they both have a tendency to kind of like demure and kind of defer to teammates in crunch time, which
they're team players more instead of being Keyshawn Johnson, give me the damn ball.
Right. And so that was always like a weird dynamic. And then also like Derek White got there, and Derek White was like, honestly, just towards the end, like clearly a better player than Smart, but Smart, because of his like seniority and kind of like standing on the team and in the locker room, like not Brad, I guess it would be Ime and then Joe Mazzulla didn't feel comfortable like subbing in Derek White for Marcus Smart at the end of games. So it was like Smart was always on the court in crunch time with Derek White on the bench. And it's like,
because wasn't he like originally like a 6-man, Derek White?
Yeah.
And also, who was
although he was a starter when he was in San Antonio, but
oh, that's right, yeah. But like, because like I'm thinking like Derek White less replaced him and replaced Marcus Smart, and more so
Grant Williams.
Yep.
Yeah.
Grant Williams. I feel like Derek once he was moved, Derek White kind of slid into that role, except he was more of the starting point guard. Was he a point guard?
He kind of functions as a point guard sometimes.
But like Drew Holiday was like in the off season, or was like mid season?
Drew Holiday?
Yeah.
So that's the next one.
Yeah.
So the trade was just to recap that trade. So they sent away Marcus Smart. That was the biggest piece.
And also Williams.
And
traded him, didn't y'all, off season? Or was that last year?
I think Grant Williams was a sign and trade, not the same. Robert Williams. Yes, that was a different trade.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
So I get ahead of myself. Sorry.
No, but they brought in Porzingis, and he's a guy who like over the years has kind of been like miscast a lot of the places he's been.
When he's on the court, he's really good.
He started out with the Knicks, and he was booed on draft night and stuff, and then was actually kind of like a star almost immediately. But like he was also kind of miscast there because he was sort of expected to be like Joel Embiid. Basically, he was expected to be like a number one scoring option.
Also, it was the Knicks.
Yeah, that was also like when the Knicks. That's also when the Knicks were just horrible.
Like they were average. They weren't horrible. It was just average.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do with like a great draft pick. Now I'm hoping
just terribly mismanaged.
I hope they now don't like mess up Brunson. Just please don't.
They seem like they're doing the right thing.
I hope so.
So, Porzingis, he went to Dallas and played with Luka, and
that didn't work.
And that didn't work. And like he like
that was a train wreck.
They just never meshed well, and then he just didn't seem like he wanted to try on defense very much.
So it basically was like they tried to play 2K, but like in reality it didn't work.
And then he went to Washington, and then kind of had like a sneaky good year, and that was when the Celtics acquired him. And it was basically like, look, you're adding like a cheat code to your offense because you have two elite wings.
Yeah.
You have I guess Derek White kind of like functions as the point guard in this lineup.
Yeah, Slandy. Yep.
But then you also have a guy that's like 7'3" and can space out to like 28 feet.
And can get some rebounds.
But also has like a really efficient post-up game and can rebound.
Yep. You can't teach height.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Y'all needed like a center anchor that didn't rely on Big Al.
Right, and then that also like let Horford kind of naturally kind of fade back into like more of a supporting role.
His natural position.
Kind of, yeah. Because he's not a feature player anymore, even though he's still great at his age.
Sure, he'll hit like 2 or 3 threes a game for you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and God, his development as a 3-point shooter is amazing. But anyway,
you got the goods, man.
So that happened, and everybody was like, "Oh, okay, this is like an all chips in kind of move."
It's looking scary.
Yeah. And it's like, all right, they recognize this team needs a little extra juice to like get over the top. Because they were already really good. but it was sort of like, I was listening to one of our old podcasts earlier today where we were talking about the old Embiid and Simmons thing, where it was like somehow they were always worse than the sum of the parts. And that was always like a thing with the Celtics over the years, where people would like be hand wringing over like, they're good, but why aren't they better? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because you don't just get. It's hard enough to get a Jason Tatum. It's another to get like a Jason Tatum, and before that, and a Jaylen Brown.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get there too, because I wanna eventually zoom out and go all the way back.
Hell yeah!
But as far as this year goes, so that was the big thing, and then they signed Jaylen Brown to the max, which
that got
for like 5 minutes was the richest contract in NBA history.
That move kind of got panned by half the critics.
They signed and traded Grant Williams to the Mavericks, and then amazingly, he just completely flamed out and then didn't last the season.
And then he went to the Hornets, I think.
Oh, it's funny. This page is like really outdated and does not include the Drew Holiday trade. But basically, I'm gonna like fudge the details a little bit. But basically, the Bucks, after winning their title, have kind of been floundering in the last few years and not quite getting over the top.
Stupidest move ever.
I don't think so. But
he helped get them that chip, man.
He did.
Because whenever Middleton was out, who picks up the slack? Drew Holiday give you 20.
Yeah.
And great defense.
Yeah. But so the Bucks were in a position where they were like, we feel like we need some extra juice, and they kind of swooped in and sniped Damian Lillard when the Heat took too long.
I didn't think it was a great fit for them.
It really
that was a Miami. That should have been a Miami move through and through.
Yeah. I don't know. I think honestly, whoever was going to trade for him probably waited like 3 years too long. And that's the fault of the Blazers too. I think they waited 3 years too long.
Yeah, the Blazers stink on that.
Because he's pretty clearly on the like downslope now. He's still good, but he's not like nuclear what he used to be.
He's like a taller version of like, he makes you think of like a taller, more gifted version of Kemba Walker.
Kind of
like staying there for like a decade, and then you're not doing anything. You have more postseason success, but other than that, you just wasted your franchise's greatest players, like prime years.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was in the bubble or if it was the year after that, but I remember that playoff game that I kept texting you about.
I think it was the bubble,
where it was between the Nuggets and the Blazers, and it like went to overtime, and the Blazers were just so clearly like undermanned and just completely gassed. And, you know, Joker would just come down the court and just completely tear them apart every time. And then Lillard would literally, he just started like not giving a fuck. And he would get the ball, dribble up the court to about 35, 32 feet, and then just let it fly. And he hit like 3 of those in a row. In overtime.
That wasn't new. He did that on a regular, man.
Yeah.
That was Dame time.
Like, you know, in like a high level, high pressure playoff, and like that's that dude.
It's just Dame.
And it does suck that he like kind of wasted away at his prime on a like kind of mediocre team. But anyway, so the Bucks felt like they needed to do something, and they needed to do something to keep Giannis happy so that he would sign that extension and not leave and like go to the Lakers or whatever.
So they gave him Dame and Grayson Allen.
Yep. Ugh. And then the Grayson Allen went to the Suns actually this year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But anyway, but as part of that, they had to let Drew Holiday go, and so he went to the Blazers. And obviously, they're not stupid over there. They had to know there was a possibility that he was going to get flipped to some other team that they're competing with. Mm-hmm. I don't think they anticipated that being the Celtics. Because and again, I'm too lazy to look up the exact details of the trade, but basically they pulled it off. They really didn't give up very much.
They offered, they couldn't refuse
to get him. And, you know, the Blazers were just like, you know, we're rebuilding, we don't care. And so
they're too busy stuck with DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, dominating.
Oh my gosh.
That's one of the worst nicknames in sports.
Oh no, I mean, it's better than the big fundamental.
I think so. The like goodness or badness of a nickname is also proportional to like how good the player is.
Oh yeah, no one's touching Timmy
And so like
though.
so like dominating is like a catchier nickname than the big fundamental, but like Ayton is just trash. And,
It's just trash.
like in general, like mediocre players shouldn't have nicknames. Like when Freddie Mitchell nicknamed himself Fred X. Like,
oh, that still hurts.
No.
That still hurts.
Yeah, no. Like he came into the league and he like basically tried to have like T.O.'s media personality with like, 5% of T.O.'s talent.
Damn, 5%?
This is our shit right here. Pro football.
5%.
2001 to 2004. So he only played for 3 years.
Ew,
He had 5 touchdowns total in his career.
Wait, is that yardage? Is that all he'd had?
That's his entire career.
I thought he did double that at least.
Also, Pro Football Reference is like not loading correctly.
What?
Yeah, no. So he had 21, 12, 35, and 22 catches. So yeah.
What?
And the guy was like, my nickname is Fred X. Brief aside.
Wow.
Bad players should not have nicknames.
Especially if you give them yourself.
Yeah.
Ow.
I mean, in
How
general.
did I not know he was that bad? Man, he had me fooled. I thought he was actually doing something. Oh my God.
He was all hype. Mostly generated by himself.
Shoot, it seemed like his stats were AI generated at this point.
And also in general, just a little bit of life advice for whoever's out there listening to this. Like, you just should never give yourself a nickname ever. Nicknames are something that catches on with other people. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't like the nickname you're given and you just have to live with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Drew Holiday went to the Celtics, which gave them a starting lineup.
I love that move.
Of Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis. That's basically like 5, I guess 3 All-Stars and like 2 borderline All-Stars.
Al came off the bench?
Yeah, Al came off the bench for most of the year.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that. I thought he started.
Nope. Al, he started at different times throughout the year and different, because, they like massively load managed Porzingis, and I think he only played like 55 games or something.
He started when like KP went down. Right?
Yeah. So those were the big things, right? They made some really pretty ballsy moves to upgrade the team. And then also like, around the margins, they developed Sam Hauser, they developed, Peyton Pritchard.
Scrappy white guy, man.
He really is.
You're talking about somebody putting in work, man. He somehow like managed to not only stay on the team but get quality playing time.
Yep.
That guy, you get the Gruden Grinder award.
he's developed into like a useful player, and that's
like a good backup.
That's not for nothing.
A good solid backup point guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like Pritchard, Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah.
He's squared.
But so, and then I think the other thing, just from like a more like psychological standpoint, is with Smart out of the picture, it allowed over the course of the year for Jaylen Brown to kind of grow into the role of team leader.
Grow into being a dog.
Right. And that really and you could tell like in those mic'd up segments where he just had all this really like profound shit to say to his teammates on the court. And really, was just constantly like hyping everybody up and keeping people focused and like, just all of that stuff that like you want your like star player to do.
Jaylen looked like he was a guy who just got tired of people talking shit about him in the media, and he was locked in. He was a different beast. What were you gonna say?
No, and there was that thing
there's
that thing that went around the internet where ESPN had a graphic where it was like over 2 games he had like 47 points and 0 assists, and then he actually commented on it on Instagram and said like y'all corny or something. And
because sometimes when I be seeing some games, sometimes I be thinking like in some games, Jaylen Brown will be better than Tatum.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing, right? Is that they both are like very like malleable players and can really like adjust what they do depending on who is going off that night.
Like if you took one or the other off the team, they're the man on whatever team you put them on.
Yeah.
Easily.
And that was like the lesson that Tatum had to learn throughout his like early career is like he doesn't have to be Kobe. Like he definitely like his second year, he trained with Kobe in the offseason and then was like suddenly doing all of these like contested mid-range jumpers and it just didn't work. And he had to kind of learn, no, that's not his game.
Yeah, because that's also not where the league is trended towards.
Right.
Trend to the 3-point shot.
It's the most inefficient shot in the sport.
Exactly.
Hence why James Harden's shot chart looks like a smiley face. Yeah, and so like it kind of let all of those guys kind of like naturally settle into like the perfect roles for them. Yeah.
Buy in. It's like okay, if y'all want to win a chip, here we go. You gotta buy in.
And then with with Joe Mazzulla, second row Joe, pulling the strings, and that was also like a weird choice because like the whole thing with Ime happened, and it happened like 2 weeks before the start of the season or something, or before the start of training camp. So like they just very suddenly had to promote somebody into that role, and I think I
Joe Somebody, like that movie, Joe Somebody.
Yeah. Mr. Nobody.
Good movie, by the way.
Yeah. But so he came in and like had a lot of criticism his first year as the coach last year, because his whole thing, he's like a very like, he has his own spin on it, but it's very like Warriors, very like Mike D'Antoni, like threes, layups. It's the math game. If you do this so much and you hit it at this percentage, which you probably will if you're able to generate consistent open shots, then you're just going to win this percentage of the time.
Analytics, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, basically. But in a way that like actually makes sense. And
more than 7 seconds.
But also like actually fits the personnel. Because like there really isn't in that group of the top 7 players, there isn't a bad 3-point shooter in there. None of them.
Yeah.
So they can play 5 out. They can play, Kristaps in the post, 4 out, and he's either shooting a really efficient, unguardable mid-range shot or going to the rim, or he's spraying it out to one of 4 open, 38 to 42% 3-point shooters.
It's almost like an elevated version of what the Rockets were trying to do.
Kind of, yeah. And I mean, the difference is like the Rockets...
Except no PJ Tucker is the center.
The Rockets at their height had like Clint Capella in the Porzingis role, and that just never totally worked.
But he was a better defender.
He was good. No, he was very good.
Shoot, got him a contract with the Hawks.
Yeah.
Big up to him.
And Porzingis, by the way, that was the other thing about Porzingis this year, is that he also bought in on defense. And again, like, you don't have to be amazing when you're that big. You just need to try. You know what I mean?
And it's also about, like, lateral quickness, too.
Right, exactly.
Like, just get in the way a little bit.
Be an obstacle. Be a, and he's never going to be, like, an elite, like, Giannis or Gobert level rim protector.
We're not asking him to be.
But on this team, he doesn't have to be because the perimeter defense is so good.
And here's the thing. You talking about buying in, this would have been KP's probably his last chance at like, this would have been the closest he would have ever gotten to glory.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. He went from New York to Dallas and then the furthest thing you could be from a championship with the Wizards. So when he was basically gifted an opportunity here, of course he's going to buy in because you ain't going to get a golden opportunity like this, like ever.
Yeah.
So, heck yeah, you're going to buy in.
And he had that now, like a month or so into the season, he had that now famous Instagram post where he just posted like a picture of him in front of the cheering crowd in Boston and just said, different here. And that like caught on. Yeah. And they put it on t-shirts and stickers and everything and hats and all that stuff. And
it's just an aura with Boston, man.
Speaking of which, just brief aside, the Celtics like media team is like on their freaking A game. They have
Are they
so
ever
much,
off there or anything?
They put so much fucking good shit on their Instagram. It's so fun. But anyway, so I mean, yeah, and I think all of that to say that like the team just gelled perfectly, and like Missoula grew into the role of the coach, you know, because he was kind of like a weird, like, I guess you wouldn't call it lame duck, but like
he's like a silent assassin, dude.
Yeah, that dude is a maniac.
He makes me think of like one of those silent like mob boss types. Like if you're good with him, you're cool. If you're on his hit list, he's gonna find a way to like, you know, take you out.
Yeah,
that's what Joe Missoula makes me think of.
And he's also super young. Like he, what was it? He came out in the same draft class as Kyrie.
He was like, well, I can't beat him, so I might as well teach him.
Yeah. Those who can't play coach, those who can't coach become critics.
I mean, look at Ty Lue. I mean, he got stepped over by AI, and now he's like
one of the best coaches in the NBA, and won a championship in Cleveland, which nobody else can do. The next aspect of it is to zoom all the way out. So, 12 million billion years ago, the Big Bang happened, and then the universe began. And, the molecules like expanded outwards and then eventually formed into like dust balls.
And then an apple was handed by like an evil serpent or something.
And then there's that weird like NBA commercial where they're like on this floating basketball we call the Earth. And that's exactly what happened. That the matter expanding outwards like eventually turned into floating basketballs.
When you think about when you're talking about like a basketball commercial, I'm thinking about that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday song with them, and they're like jazzing out to it. Remember the NBA is in the house on TBS and TNT. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Damn, I don't remember that.
Oh God, that was one of my before James Harden's face. That was one of my NBA favorite NBA commercials, and also the reading is fundamental ones.
Yeah,
and also the one when like Gary Payton was trying to convince like this young white kid to pass the ball, and he just couldn't do it.
It's like the opposite of Ben Simmons.
It was. It's like, man, you're not even letting the ground touch the ball. And he's like, come on, kid. Come on, pass me the ball. And then the kid's mom is like, do what the man says and pass him the ball. And the kid is just like, he just shakes his head and he just drops the ball on the ground. And you see, it's like a crime scene with like the tape and stuff. It's just like, yeah, you can't save this one.
I didn't touch the ball, coach.
I told you about someone wrote like a couple paragraphs like of a continuation of that story.
Oh, if you can find it again,
I will find it. I think it's like kind of pinned on that commercial, and like it winds up with the guy dying because like everybody hated him and like killed him or something. The price of sportsmanship, ladies and gentlemen. It's a championship game, man.
Eventually, on one of those floating basketballs, there was a sport invented called basketball, where people would like throw a ball into a like basket, literally. And it was like a very nerdy white guy sport originally,
with short shorts.
Oh yeah,
and no dunking.
Yeah, dunking was like not allowed, I believe.
Really?
Something like that. Just like how the forward pass was not allowed.
No, and also no shot clock.
Yeah, no shot clock, no 3-pointer.
Just they just like pass it, and like the way of beating the Lakers or somebody was like just hold the ball, and then the final score would be like 19-18 or something.
1917.
There you go.
Great movie. Anyway, so
Red Auerbach.
A franchise existed playing that sport called the Boston Celtics.
Can I just say Red Auerbach?
Yeah.
There you go.
One of the greatest coaches and GMs of all time.
Oh, he was a GM too?
Yeah, he was the coach in the 60s on the Bill Russell teams. And then he also went into the front office when he retired from coaching, and then was the GM who drafted Larry Bird.
And then he like hired Bill Russell to be a coach or something.
Yeah, I believe like he like moved into the front office. I probably don't have the particulars right, but like
but Bill Russell was a coach.
Bill Russell was a player coach towards the end of his career, which was pretty crazy. And I think if I remember right, something that he took on to try to one up Wilt, which is very funny. But anyway,
you can't one up the legend of Wilt.
No.
From 100 points to like, his other accolades.
Wilt is basketball's Barry Bonds. Without
the Balco.
Any nerdy, weird stat there is, like the first player to do X weird thing since, the answer is always Wilt. And in baseball, the answer is always Barry Bonds.
Except Wilt's without the Balco.
Well, yeah. So the Celtics have been a historically dominant franchise. They won, whatever it was, like 10 championships in a row in the 60s or whatever. They were the Yankees of basketball.
And then the Lakers happened.
And then the Lakers.
They take turns, like winning
championships. They did. Yeah, Jerry West.
The logo.
The logo who just passed away. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. logo, man.
Yep.
Jerry West, man. Synonymous to like basketball greatness and legacy.
Famously the only player to ever win the finals MVP in a losing effort, which,
That's dope.
And really, the team's like last great hurrah was the 80s teams with Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and Danny Ainge, who later became the GM.
Wow.
And, they brought in Bill Walton at the very end.
Also, that's another one, RIP to him.
But even that team was a little star-crossed because Bird, really in his prime, like, hurt his back, like, putting gravel in his driveway in Indiana.
Oh, that's what happened?
Yeah, yep. That is what, like, ultimately, like, cut his career short.
But he still managed to play at a high level, MVP level?
I think that was, like, after he won his MVPs. I probably have the timeline. I'm sure my dad's going to comment on this and be like, no, you have it all wrong. This is actually what happened.
Probably.
But that's the broad strokes of it, is that team really, they kind of reached their height in 86 and won their third title. And I think they lost to the Lakers in 87 in the finals. But
and then the final blow was like from the Badwood Pistons.
Right.
Because y'all were a thorn to their side for like the longest time.
Right. and then the franchise really like fell on hard times and went into the 90s, and because the whole thing, Red's masterstroke was that he was able to orchestrate a trade for a draft pick that became Len Bias.
Great documentary, by the way.
Who also, regrettably, famously passed away like a few days after he was drafted. But I guess my point is, like, with the Celtics, that happened, and then, Bird, like, got hurt, and then really, like, that kind of...
Then he was a fossil in the Dream Team. That was, like, almost like a last hurrah there.
Yeah, and then, it really... And again, like...
And then Jordan took over the Eastern Conference and just the whole league.
And then
Rick Pitino happened.
Right, and then, the Celtics just never had a next generation of, like, stars to come in and, like, take over.
Or they gave up on way too quickly, like Chauncey Billups.
But yeah, and the team, to the point where they, they could have had Bird in the front office, and then they like alienated him when they had Rick Pitino there, and then he left and became a coach of the year and then a GM of the year with the Pacers.
Honestly, I think that was a blessing in disguise. That was a bullet dodged, because I think he was able to just be like, okay, separate himself from because he was going to be a king for life in Boston.
True.
So it's even sweeter that he went to, a team that he probably spent like beating up on, and then it's like elevated
his hometown team, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. But and that's one thing no one can ever take away from Mike Bird. He did something that Jordan wished in his wildest dreams he could do.
Right. Yeah. That's really the comparison, is like
he truly was Jordan trades.
Jordan trying to be a GM and then an owner and then kind of failing at both. I guess Jordan was never actually the GM, but he was at least in charge of the team when a bunch of bad stuff happened.
He drafted Kwame Brown, and then he was like, okay, to make sure I don't F this up, let me force this dog in him, to have that killer instinct. And it only just a kid come out of high school, it only just screwing them up even more.
Yep.
So yeah.
But so yeah, the team fell on hard times. They basically sucked from the early '90s all the way through to like the 2000s.
But you got Paul Pierce.
But they drafted Paul Pierce, who really had a very rocky start to his career too. He had that terrible situation where he got like stabbed outside a nightclub in Boston, and
did he play like a couple days later or something?
I think he did. Yeah.
Gosh, he's such a warrior.
But then, and we won't. I'll speed up, and we'll go through all of this. But basically, they pulled off a 1 in a million trade to bring in Kevin Garnett right at sort of the end of his prime, and then bring in Ray Allen right at the end of his prime to like pair with Pierce.
As Scotsman Pelt said in that commercial, the Boston 3 Party.
Yep. And yeah,
anything is possible.
Love it. I'm gonna clip that in here.
I'll whoop your behind if you don't.
Kevin, 11-time All-Star, League MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. Now it's time to add to your resume, NBA champion. How does that sound?
Man, I'm so hyped right now. Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
But yeah, and I mean, they won 66 games and won the title. And unfortunately, that team ended up being kind of star-crossed because they really never quite reached those heights again. They did play in the finals one more time.
Yeah, y'all just pissed off Kobe Bryant.
And then I was about to say Kendrick Lamar. No, Kendrick Perkins.
Kendrick Lamar!
Kendrick Lamar went down in Game 6.
Oh, gosh.
No.
I feel like that would be like a national emergency.
Oh, yeah. But no, Perk went down in Game 6 or whatever, and they lost Game 6 and 7. And then, like, KG went down, and then Ray Allen was hurt, and then Ray Allen left for the Heat, and they, didn't talk to him for, 10 years afterwards.
I remember,
and they still, aren't friends with him now.
I remember somebody was like, hey, I have a jersey of it, and, because he was, a play on, the character he played in You Got Game, Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Yeah.
They called him Judas Shuttlesworth.
Oh.
Yeah.
By the way, I have this core memory in my head of when Johnny Damon went to the Yankees.
It was blasphemous of him having his hair cut.
Yeah, that was terrible.
What were you going to say?
But no, so one of his first games back at Fenway Park or whatever, somebody in the crowd had a giant banner sign that said Johnny Damon, traitor. But they were just so horrible at the English language that they spelled it TREDER like Trader Joe's. Johnny Damon, traitor. Maybe they were trying to make a pun of some kind that I'm just too stupid to get, but I think they were just stupid.
I wonder if, how long has Trader Joe's existed? Because if Trader Joe's was then back then, that could have easily, backfired and just, it could have been, Johnny Damon's, sponsor. He could have made a crap ton of money because of that gaffe. In a parallel universe, that makes him a crap ton of money.
Yeah. Speaking of which, this episode is sponsored by Trader Joe's. And
ExpressVPN, Raid Shadow Legends.
Raid Shadow Legends, and also GG Subs. What's the other one? HelloFresh.
Oh my gosh. And what's an obscure one?
And probably Zenless Zone Zero.
Oh my gosh.
I never watch Twitch, if you can tell. Anyway, and this is where the story of this team begins, which is, we took 20 minutes to get here, but whatever. We're going to have a 2-hour episode. And I don't give a fuck because I love this show and I love doing it.
It's like the NBA slogan, I love this game.
No, the old baseball commercials from years ago. I live for this.
There you go.
With Pedro saying it and stuff.
It's Pedro, man.
I think I had Big Poppy do it too. Anyway.
When you call me Big Poppy.
Throw your hands in the air like you... Wait. If you's a true player.
There you go.
I was like, I know that line.
I thought you was going to do a baseball pun or something. I thought you was going to baseballize it or that line.
think I can basketballize these real quick.
There you go.
Anyway.
Still our best episode.
Of course.
So the story begins.
The saga begins.
Or continues.
No, so at the very end of that team's run, Danny Ainge kind of correctly realized, like, look, we're kind of at the end of the road here. KG is near the end. Pierce is near the end. And that was when Mikhail Prokhorov, the Russian oligarch, had just taken over the Brooklyn Nets.
Is that when they like their inception? Like, well, the beginning of that team that like came about.
I think that was when they had changed their name, yes.
Was it like they just like create like a new team entirely?
No. They were an expansion team at some point, but many years before that. Because they had like, they had Vince Carter in the 90s, or in the 2000s.
Hold up. No, that was Vince Carter was with Toronto, and then he was with the Nets. Oh yeah, they moved to New Jersey.
Yeah,
okay.
they were the New Jersey Nets first, and then they became the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay, I forgot they were in New Jersey. Wow.
So there was like this weird situation where the Nets were trying to like suddenly become contenders, and they basically just didn't give a fuck, and Mikhail Prokhorov didn't give a fuck, and so front office people have talked about this since then.
Was it that bald, like the black bald guy that did the trade?
Man, I don't remember.
They call him the Hulkster or whatever his name.
I don't remember. And again, I'm too lazy to look up the particular. Yeah. But the short version is basically
that was from Tree.
The Nets traded like 1 million first-round picks to the Celtics in exchange for basically just like Garnett and Pierce and maybe some other pieces at the time. But so the Celtics basically just traded their whole team away.
And it was the NBA equivalent of the Herschel Walker trade.
Kind of, yeah. And like that Nets team was like okay.
But they didn't make it past like the second round. Like that type of good. Like and then it was like the Sixers before the Sixers.
Right. And then like Pearson Garnett kind of like aged out pretty quickly.
And that's when they also got Jason Terry.
Yeah. The short version is the Nets went for like instant gratification.
They went for broke.
And then they were suddenly terrible. They were basically actually amazingly enough in the same situation that they are in now. Where they're terrible and they don't have any of their draft picks.
They definitely screwed the pooch on that one.
Although this year they traded for, that was why they traded for one of their picks back, because they were like, we're tanking anyway because we're just so bad, so we might as well have our own pick. But anyway, and that enabled the Celtics to, and again, this has been well covered in this pod. We're getting to the part that we've actually covered on this show, so I'll go faster. But that enabled the Celtics to draft Jason Tatum, or I guess Jaylen Brown first, who was 3rd overall. They drafted Jason Tatum 3rd overall after they traded down.
And when they drafted him, initially I was like, who?
We all panned at the time. Who? I remember those episodes.
We're like, who?
And, I'll find something juicy from that episode and I'll splice it in here.
Do you keep the pick or do you trade the pick?
Who knows what? Fultz. It's Fultz, right? It's pronounced Fultz.
Fultz.
This is how much I follow NBA prospects.
Who do you get Fultz or Ball?
Fultz. I think so. Danny Ainge literally can't make a trade to save his damn life other than to trade down in the draft. Prove to me, D, that Danny Ainge is not Sam Hinkie in a Danny Ainge mask.
There's a YouTuber that does like, basketball and stuff. And he's like, whenever he like sees somebody of name he doesn't recognize or a scrub, he'd be like, this guy got drafted. Who?
Who are you? Who? And that was ultimately like the formation of at least the core of this team was, an amazing, very forward-thinking move, and then a lot of like patience, basically.
Let's not forget though, what led y'all to get Tatum. Y'all had the number 1 pick, and just traded out of picking Markelle Fultz.
And I said at the time, I remember this. I said they should draft Fultz.
Wow, I thought so too. But then again, he was like an unknown to me.
Yeah.
I knew Tatum because he burned my Tar Heels.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean,
But that took a lot of balls to like trade out the number 1 pick to get him.
Yeah. He knew he got his guy. And I think that was the year that Lonzo was drafted too, right? Because he went to the Lakers. Yeah.
Yep.
It's amazing. And he was like immediately awesome at like age 19. And has just only gotten better. And, and there's been some consternation about him in recent years because it's like, again, it's like, he was like the chosen one. And he's gonna probably top out as like the 6th or 7th best player in the NBA. He'll crack MVP voting every now and then, but that's okay. Again, like the team is so good and so cohesive that he doesn't need to be Kobe. And that was the lesson for him, I think, is that he's very good now about knowing when to defer to his teammates, when to take over. And he's had great playoff performances, like the 50 points against the Bucks in the elimination game. Like, he had 50 points in a game 7 at one point. Like he's done the thing in the playoffs. He just doesn't have to do it every single game. And yeah, like, that's the craziness.
I don't know why, but like maybe it's a bad take. But, like, just from a team perspective, like, the run they had, it maybe... Now, without the elbows and, like, even more intense defense, they made me think of the Pistons a little. Like, the Bad Boy Pistons a little.
With just how intensely they play or stylistically?
Just as together. Knowing someone to take the lead or someone... Like, for example, Zeke is the man. He's the main man. But sometimes it was Joe Dumars.
Right, yeah.
I mean, like, you had other guys that was like, okay, if it was their time to shine, they would do that. And you had guys that knew their role. I mean, look, Dennis Rodman plays, well, he's the worm, plays excellent defense, 2-time defensive player of the year, played great, excellent defense and get rebounds.
Just vacuuming up offensive rebounds.
Yes. And then guys like Derek White. He's a 3-and-D guy, but like he's there he's gonna play tough, tenacious defense. That's what he does night in and night out.
And he's gonna literally play so hard that he like busts his teeth on the court and has to get dental surgery the next day.
Man, I feel like he had like a reverse Samson, like because he had the hair, and then when he shaved his stuff bald, it's like he got better.
And he was not like a great. I didn't realize this. He was not like a great shooter when the Celtics traded for him.
No, he wasn't.
That was something he developed.
He was about on level with like Marcus Smart when he first came there.
Yeah, and I mean, it all came together, and they're the champions.
Yeah, and somewhere in between, like we had those funny years of like Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah,
I mentioned Zeke, but y'all had your own Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah,
then Kyrie happened.
The King in the Fourth. That was his nickname, the King in the Fourth.
Wow.
It was really only like 1.5 years, basically, but it was so amazing.
And then his hip like exploded. Yep. And then there was a mismanagement of the medical staff and all that. That was pretty tragic. Then Kyrie happened, and then that.
Yeah, we didn't even really cover Kyrie at all on this.
It happened. The honeymoon phase quickly died, and then Eric Gordon, Gordon Hayward's career essentially died.
Yep.
In opening night. Ugh, that was a lot. A lot happened here in that time, and then y'all made that y'all came one game away making the finals with with Isaiah Thomas and then
Scary Terry
picks. Yeah, and didn't who was it that mistook called Eric Bledsoe, Drew Bledsoe?
That was Scary Terry.
And then that's right, Terry Rozier was there.
Yep.
That was a fun team to watch too. So
they were awesome.
Yeah.
And they had that series where they had that game where Tatum dunked on LeBron, and everybody's like, "Oh God, here he comes."
I mean, you have youth, and you have a top 3 talent. I mean, a top 3 draft talent.
And so
you draft on potential. That's why.
But you mentioned the Bad Boy Pistons. I would almost more comp this team to the 2004 Pistons.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Of really tough defense, like timely. I mean, this team is like a way better 3-point shooting team than that team, but timely offense, consistent, like synergistic offense. And then they're just so insanely like just ferocious on defense that it's like, how the hell do you score on these guys? And the other thing is that was probably the last team other than the Celtics this year. That was probably the last team to win without like a top 5 player on the roster. Right?
I mean, it kind of averages out when you have like Tatum and Brown, who are both like top 10 players.
Yeah.
So I mean, it evens out. Just because you have someone like KD, that doesn't mean you're gonna win anything.
Right. No, and I mean
they got swept. So.
I would contrast that with the Suns, where the Celtics in the finals, like they arguably, I mean, I definitely say Luka is a better player than Tatum. He's probably
Luka has his own aura, dude.
Luka is probably top 3, I guess, at this point,
at least, and he'll be number 1 once LeBron moves on.
I think he's already surpassed at this point. Like he's not surpassed LeBron career wise, but in terms of who is better right now, he's better.
Well. Balance-wise, yes, but I'm not fearing Luka to dunk on me yet. LeBron, that honor still goes to LeBron. Like, I'm not trying to play defense because he's going to put me on a poster.
Yeah, Luka doesn't really do the like bully ball thing that LeBron does, but he does other things that are amazing. So
he'll back you down to the basket, though.
Yeah.
But, like, he ain't dunking
He had 62 points and 20 rebounds in a game this year. So, there you go.
He definitely was taking a dip in the ice, the therapeutic ice bath that night.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's work.
But the general concept is like, you're, again, like in the finals, they did not have the best player on the court pretty much for the entire series, but their like 2 through 7 were just leagues better than the Mavericks, and that's where they made up the difference.
There you go.
And that really is what carried them through the rest of the league this year and led to all of that success. And just briefly looking forward, they basically have already re-signed everybody. Porzingis, I think Porzingis got paid last year, but Porzingis got an extension. Derek White got an extension. Holiday got an extension. Sam Hauser got an extension. Jason Tatum just signed his, I believe.
Did he sign his like last year or something?
No. It was like a month or 2 ago.
Okay.
And his is the richest NBA contract ever. And then obviously somebody else is going to surpass it at some point.
Nice. That's how it goes.
Probably in the next 10 minutes.
But who in the next 10 minutes?
I don't know.
Like Luka?
I think
Luka's already got paid.
I was going to say Luka, I think, has already signed his. Anyway, so I mean, they have something like $500 million committed to this team over like the next, whatever it is, like 2 years. And I mean, they're going to be so far into the second apron that like, they're going to be paying almost the team's entire salary in luxury taxes, over again. So like, it's like every dollar counts as $2 basically now.
Wow.
Or the other way around.
I mean, it'll be better than like, paying like Timothy Mozgov a big contract.
And then there's also the weirdness going on where like weeks after they won the championship, Wick Grosbeck, the owner, like announced they were going to sell the team.
Interesting.
So that's possibly concerning on the horizon. There's, a doomsday scenario where like Fenway Sports Group buys the Celtics.
Oh boy.
And then guts them.
Oh.
I hope that doesn't happen. But anyway, yeah, that's the Celtics. Congrats, Celtics.
Congrats, Celtics. Okay, so Deetalks. So what is our topic about?
So I teased this at the beginning. I thought it would be to sort of maybe further contextualize our sort of very long gap in recordings.
Hiatus.
Our sort of informal hiatus. I will say briefly that like it was never our intent. We never officially said, oh, the show is on hiatus or the show is dead. It was just, we were on a little bit of a vacation is how I would describe it.
Yeah.
And, Yeah, so I thought it would be fun to talk through that and sort of just talk about like the value of like momentum, both in like life and in sort of like things you want to do with your life. I think the easiest example is like, when you like start going to the gym and it's like really hard at first, and then the more you do it, it gets easier. Or like when you're hiking and your legs get so tired to the point where it's actually easier to keep walking than to stop. That sort of thing. The idea of like momentum as a way to kind of keep your life moving forward and to maybe carry you through more difficult times.
So, I can't speak for you. I can only go by experience. Momentum has been difficult for me. Like, sometimes it can be hard to just like, want to move or to keep going, because you feel like sometimes you just feel like you're, I don't know why I'm thinking about the Katy Perry song. Like you feel like a paper bag or something like that.
Oh.
Plastic bag.
I don't know that one.
Fireworks. That was the beginning of
Oh,
Fireworks.
yes.
Yeah. It's like, it was like one of like my wife's favorites. But like,
That song is like the best kind of cheesy because it's like so like it's just so like shamelessly positive.
yeah.
And it's like so much so that it like works.
And yeah, works for this right now.
Yes.
But the chaos around the world and stuff, and you just see like what appears to be like nothing but bad news. It just almost feels like, what's the point in moving forward? Because like, hey, whatever I do here isn't gonna matter, and then you just feel hopeless, and you just feel like you're like in to a different degree, but it makes you think of Get Out. You feel like you're just in the sunken place.
Yeah.
And you just like, it doesn't matter. It feels like no matter what you do, you just feel like you're just going to be there. But one of the things that I try to think of in terms of momentum is just, it does come down to like the little things. That show you told me about when that guy was like
Afterlife on Netflix.
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais is maybe not like a great person, but that show is legitimately very, very good. And it is maybe the most realistic portrayal I've ever seen of clinical depression on television. And I say that as someone who has clinical depression. So anyway, yeah. I don't recommend shows very often because I don't really watch TV. So watch that and then also watch Brock Meyer. Anyway.
But like you told me, it's like, yeah, it was just like, yeah, he thought about ending it all, but then something very simple was like his dog needed food, and that kept him going, because who was going to feed his dog if he's gone? So it's just like, no matter how hard things get, there's people who love and care about you, and then there's people you know and don't know who need you, who need you to be here, and you make so much of a difference to a lot of people. And I think one of the things that I have to like remind myself is I need to remind myself of how important I am to me, because
that's a big one.
Yes. My wife reminded me of this. In my core, I am a people pleaser. I'm on to like,
I am too.
I remember, I think it was like my brother who said this, or like a relative said, this was, mind you, when I was like maybe 11 or 12 years old, that like at a Christmas party once, he said, it was either him or somebody else said that I was the type of person that would help 5 people before I would help myself. Said this when I was like, before I was even a teenager.
Oof.
And it still carries. So it makes, so like, I need to, for me, I have to like, momentum is, I need to trust myself and trust that, yes, trust that my value is, yes, like people valuing me as a person, but me valuing myself as a person. Only I can like motivate myself. At the end of the day, only I can motivate myself to get up in the morning, to go to my job, to handle things at home, to try to focus on balancing like work and social life, which I've been absolutely terrible in. But the key is getting back on that horse. When it comes to momentum, I guess one thing that sticks out to me is like, I'll give you an example, is like between this this hiatus, I did like a pickleball tournament, the homecoming at our alma mater, and about halfway through in that tournament, I strained my knee bad.
Ooh.
And I'm at this sport that I love. And I'm playing with a partner I never played with before, but like I didn't want to let him down. And me being as passionate I am about the sport. So the whole second half I'm playing with a leg that I can barely bend.
Ooh.
But it was just like my drive of feel like I had something to prove, like, okay, I don't want it to end this way. And also I cherish the sport that I love and just played. And then eventually, yeah, it was probably stupid because I probably should have just bowed out of it. But I just was like, no, I probably should stop, but no, I don't want to. I want to keep going until we get bounced out of the tournament, whatever. And then we eventually make it to the finals. We don't win it, obviously, but it was just like, it's like I was proving to myself that you can press on with certain things. And that's like, it was like a monumental moment of like, yeah, maybe I could have dropped out of this, for my health, but like, I was passionate about this and I was going to do whatever it took to grab hold of that.
Yeah.
So, and hey, I got a second place trophy out of it. So,
That's cool.
But it's like the memory attached to that, like that type of grind and that type of like drive. I just need to take those memories and ball that up and apply it to other things in my life. So when I'm thinking of momentum, that's what I think of. Like find the little things of like, to make you move. Like even something like this is like a callback. If you have a drive to play a video game, even if this is recently, even just to play for 15 minutes, just play it because it's something I love to do. Do it. Don't be like, oh yeah, I don't have this time. So make time for it. If you love something, you're gonna make time for it.
Yes.
So when it comes down to momentum, it's just give yourself a chance because you never know what you're gonna get out of it.
Yeah.
So the floor is completely yours because I got my popcorn ready like T.O. So
I got my Pop Rocks ready.
Without the cola.
A brief thought when you were talking about playing with the fucked up knee, like
it was not fun.
No, but like I mean, I killed the Knicks for letting OG Anunoby go out there in Game 7 when he like could barely walk. He should never have hit the court, but I understand why he did it, right?
It's
like
love
he
and passion.
personally, and that's why the team has to like protect those guys from themselves because they're always going to choose to play that. Like
you told me. You said it yesterday. Players want to play.
Yeah. By the way, I found out recently that Logan Mankins, I think in the 2011 season, played the entire year on a torn ACL.
I don't doubt it. Logan Mankins was a dog.
Yeah.
Logan Mankins is probably like easily one of our like an all-time like great lineman, not just on our team, but like could be like an all-time great, like could be a dark horse all-time great, period.
Yeah. No, they did another podcast shout out Off the Pike on the Ringer Network. They did a top Boston athletes who never won a ring. So obviously Randy Moss. But one of the hosts was like, yeah, Logan Mankins, because he literally he was drafted in 05 and then left in 13. So he literally played ththose exact 10 years that they didn't win.
Minks never got a ring?
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
Wow.
And like, I get, like,
That's blasphemy.
yeah. And like, I get why OG went out there. I get why KP went out in the finals. Like, you know, whatever else happens in his career, you know what? Like, to your point about like memories, like KP gets to say, I played in the NBA finals. My team won. I have a ring. Yes, but I got to play. I got to have that experience. I got to nail that mid-range jumper. I got to go to the parade and chug beer and ride the duck boats, and all that stuff. So like, yeah, absolutely. Like,
It's also a pride thing too, because like you show, it's like, I guess it's also like an alpha male type of thing. It's like you want to show the guys that you're willing to do whatever it takes or ride or die, and willing to, like, you showing them, hey, I gave it all I had, man. It's like you're gonna have to take the lead now, but like I gave it a go. This is what I had, man.
Yeah.
You can't tell me, you can't say I didn't give you what I had left.
Yeah. And so from my perspective, a couple of things. One, so you may have noticed that there is a song that plays at the beginning of every episode. So that song is called Headache.
Nice title.
And yeah. It was literally like a scratch demo on our first episode. And you can go back and listen to it. The file's still out there. You can go back and listen to it. It is very raw, very rough. It's not mixed. It's not mastered. It's not really even properly recorded.
So it's just a rookie.
It was just a demo. And then I love re-listening to old episodes because that song kind of starts slowly like iterating and like taking shape and like getting better and better and sounding better and better, like through all those years.
Just evolution.
And then eventually, and I think I never even mentioned this in the live stream, which would have been our last episode, but I did eventually, that song and that like debut EP that I'd been teasing for like 10 years, did finally come out at the end of 2020 and is out there in the world. And I have been paid like 30 cents by Spotify for like streams of it. So,
dude, that's dope.
And, but I mean, like the process of like, yeah.
There you go. I had to get one in. There you go.
The process of like getting to that point was all momentum. And so like I would say roundabout like early 2017, is really when like my life really started to fall apart. And I won't really get into the details of what happened or as to why, but basically I just reached a point with my like mentality where I, like exactly what you were saying, where I was like, what's the point? And it wasn't like I wanted to kill myself. It was like, you know, I am just so unhappy and so like just down on life.
You feel like whatever you're going to do is just going to get erased by some outside force.
Right. And it's like, you know, again, like it was everything. Like, it was like, you know, why put money in a 401k if this, you know, society is just going to collapse, you know, that kind of like thinking. And again, like it literally like ruined my life. So, I mean, it wasn't like it was free of consequences, living like that. A bunch of things had to happen. One, I've talked openly about this on the show before, but I needed legitimate medical treatment by medical professionals, to work on what is ultimately like a medical condition that I have.
Don't ever hesitate for help.
Absolutely. That is the greatest gift you can give to yourself, is to take that step. And there's a lot of stigma around medical conditions that occur between your ears, as opposed to, say, in your knee or your foot or your ankle or your elbow.
Not where we used to be, but we still got work to do on that.
But the reality is, it is also a medical condition, and in some cases requires medical treatment. And no one need be afraid to seek that kind of treatment. Again, nobody ever turns an eyebrow up if you go to the doctor because you broke your leg. But if you broke your brain's leg, everybody's like, well, have you just tried taking more walks outside? Have you just tried exercising more?
Have you tried not thinking about it?
Yeah. Have you tried just being more positive? But
think about that melancholy song.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, but I'm going to thread the needle a little bit here.
Like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I it's going to take a while, but I'm gonna bring it back.
I ain't going nowhere.
I'm gonna land this plane. It's gonna be, we might like bounce a little bit, but we're gonna land the plane.
Take your time, man. I've been waiting for this.
Just like with the Celtics, a couple of things needed to happen.
Well, and that did not include, and we didn't. We didn't have to kidnap Damon Wayans for the championship.
Yeah, it's true. I love that. That's such a deep cut.
Oh yeah.
A couple of things needed to happen. Obviously, I needed to be treated for my condition.
You had to show the willingness to be treated,
right? And I had to be willing to help myself.
Yes.
To prioritize myself, just like you said.
Everybody wants to give everybody else advice, but don't want to give themselves or take their own advice.
Yeah. And a very wise friend of mine once said, hey, look, I'm in your corner and, I've got you. But the reality is the only thing I can really do for you is I can put a ladder there. You have to climb it. It's like imagining that you're in the pit. That's always how I imagine depression is you're in a hole, like the sunken place. You're down. There's a great Alice in Chains song called Down in a Hole that is about depression.
I'll listen to that.
It's a great song. It's a great song. So there's that aspect of it where you have to, and again, that's not
do your job.
Yeah. It's not easy and it's not fun. It's not
things we're having aren't easy.
Right. Taking it all the way back, it's that momentum thing. It's forming little daily habits. It's the details. It's feeding the dog every morning or whatever. It's like cooking for yourself.
One interjection. A former basketball coach, when I was in high school, talked about doing the little things. Rebounding. He used to mark out if you got down on the floor to get the ball and stuff like that. Those little things adding up to wins. That's momentum.
Yeah. And, just like the classic, Al Pacino scene, life is about inches.
Die for that inch.
And it is. It's great advice. So, and that really manifested for me in a few different ways. One, and most importantly, is I had to learn. And I would argue that this is a skill. I had to learn from scratch how to allow myself to be happy ever. And that is a skill.
Ooh, I needed to hear that.
Especially in the world we live in where, I think there was a lot of especially around that time, there was a lot of people on social media that were you gotta shove this stuff in your face. You can't turn a blind eye. Democracy dies in darkness, all that stuff. You gotta pay attention because they're gonna get one over on you. And it's those things are all true and you absolutely should be aware of what's happening, not just in your own country, but in the world.
But you can't go for yourself in it.
But you can't kill yourself with it. You can't. And nobody can. And, if it's,
doom scrolling is so toxic, man.
It's
poison.
If it is at a point where it's legitimately fucking up your life,
it will make you ill.
Which it was for me,
and I can attest to it as well.
The 30 for 30 about the past 10 years is going to be fire. But
as long as it's not Firefest.
Oh yeah, the whole world is Firefest now. Yeah, choosing yourself, allowing yourself to be happy without guilt. Because that was a big thing for me is I would pick up a guitar and like play for myself or work on a song or like have a fun night out with friends. And I would get home and be like, well, the world is still ending, like that's how my brain was.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not perfect. I certainly, I certainly can like have my own sinking into fatalism sometimes. And obviously, I on this show over the years have sort of outed myself as like an incredibly like cynical person. And I still am, because that's just my personality. I am a dyed-in-the-wool skeptic, is what I would say about basically everything. It also manifested in my like development as a musician, as an artist, as a podcaster.
Ding, ding, ding.
I really think we started doing this podcast because we were both in like a similar place around the time where we like needed like an outlet and needed a way to like express ourselves and to laugh.
And we were bored, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but I remember too, we had several like really long conversations about Cap back when that was going on. And that was like the original genesis of all this.
Oh my god!
And you at some point in there was like, dude, we should really just like record this, basically.
Yeah, because we have the hours of like footage that never was, man.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, again, like just to speak to like our friendship, like we've been doing this podcast since like 2008. It's just that we just at some point started recording it, is what I would say. Like. And again, all of that was like...
Talk about momentum. The ball just slowly started rolling until we answered the call. Like, okay, let's roll this down further.
And so, so like I over those like 3 and 4 years, like I was like building all of these habits and, was like working on stuff. And I was in like a recording school at one point that like helped me a ton and taught me a lot of skills. And, that I still use now. Again, like if you learn skills, they really never go away. That's also a valuable way that you can choose yourself and prioritize yourself.
But if you don't practice and use it, that's going to atrophy.
Well, yeah, but like, I guess more like knowledge. When you
knowledge.
When I mean, unless you like have like
Lamborghinis. Your Lamborghini account.
Generally, at least if you're a relatively like neurotypical person, when you acquire knowledge, you're really probably not going to lose it. And, that's something that like you do once and then it just provides value over and over and over again over the years.
But you decide how you want to use it.
Right. But anyway, so then, again, like here I am and I'm like, I'm learning how to be happy. I'm learning how to like live life. And I had joined a band and was doing all this cool shit. And then 2020 happened, which I think caught everybody off guard. And like put everyone in a position that I think my therapist at the time said it best. Life is simulating depression right now. Everyone is stuck in their house, can't go anywhere, can't, I guess you can like hop on Zoom, but like can't really interact with anyone, can't, like I said in an episode, can't hug, can't do anything. And you're just constantly stuck with like this stream of like horrible news all the time. And yeah, and it like broke most people, including me.
I think it broke everybody. If anyone said that it didn't break them, I think they're lying. It broke some sliver of like it took a piece out of everybody, I'm sure.
Yeah. And
results may vary, but yeah, it's just like, yeah.
And not to fully rehash all of that, but I mean, just to say that like again, just personally, like the ripple effects from that are still affecting me now. So I mean, and you can kind of like hear it in our voices in those like last few episodes that we did in 2020, kind of before our sort of long hiatus where
we were tired.
And
gassed.
Like, you can maybe it's just I know you well and I know myself really well, but like I can hear the cracks forming in both of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it was really starting to get to us.
Like we did good to like have that momentum to still kind of chug along to still record those episodes that we did record at that time.
Yeah.
That was a miracle within itself.
And I mean, that momentum carried me through at least probably the first half of that year and kept me in like pretty good spirits. And I was like working on music stuff and like still like doing everything I could. And then, yeah, you know, clearly not unrelated, but I'd say at the beginning of 21, around the time we did the live stream, like I just entered and again, this is clinical depression for you. Like I entered a just depressive episode that lasted, I'm not kidding, probably about a year and a half. Not worth diving into the details of all of that, but I mean, like, I go into, like, where I store all my music files, and it's like, the last modified one is like, you know, like June of 2021, and then there's just this gap, a like literal like 3-year gap where I just literally did not even open any of those files. And like that's where I was at. Like I lost the momentum, and it took a long time to come back. And again, like it doesn't mean, and that's the lesson, and I hope the lesson of this entire episode that we've done here tonight, that is probably going to be 3.5 hours long. But I don't care.
Maybe 2.5 of the bonus like segment. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I will see. All of that to say that, like, if you're ever in that position where you've kind of lost it, and maybe you're like, whatever, you're feeling directionless in life, or maybe you had a relationship end and you're like floundering around for like, you know, meaning and value in people, and, or, you know, feeling directionless in your career or with your social life or any number of things, like, Sure.
Are you speaking to the audience, or are you speaking to me? Because I'm receiving like some of this stuff. And I'm like, this is like broccoli and like vegetables, fruits and vegetables, nutrients for me right now. So
I think it's just good advice for anyone. And that's why I tried to like sort of cast a wide net. Like,
well, you got me. So
it does not matter how long it's been. It does not matter how difficult it may seem. It doesn't matter how you have to start with like one thing. And again, I come back to the gym as an example. Like the gym and like fitness in general and like eating healthier and that whole thing, like it's all little habits and little details, like, you know, and it's just maintaining something over time. You cannot go to the gym once and then be ripped, right? You know that. That's not how that works.
Yeah. For a person that's like getting on and off the boat, like on and off the ship each time, like, yeah, that's consistency is hard.
Yeah, and that's again, it's easy because to do something once, you can like guilt yourself into doing it. You can have somebody else shame you into doing it. January
1st, and then like by like February, March, that's a script that membership. Yeah, it's worthless now.
but all of those things are not you choosing to do it, right? Like if you're being like, you know, pressured or forced or whatever, like that's not the same as you making a choice and prioritizing yourself. And that's the habit, to your point earlier.
But the habit is you can choose like, hey, I want to do this, and you do this once or twice, but it's also your decision to make the choice to keep going and do it. Like you're expecting like instant results without the hard work. You're not going to get meaningful results without the work.
And all of that to say is I like sat down a few months ago, and I don't remember what exactly struck me that day, but I sat down and I like pulled up some of the old demos, because that's the thing. After the Deviation Notice EP came out, I immediately started working on another one because I was like in the zone. And I wrote like several songs like very quickly. I still had the demos on my phone, and I pulled them up and looked, and I was like, damn, this shit is actually like really good. Like, damn, I was like onto something here. Like this has real potential. And
Was that the first time you told yourself that you got the goods?
kind of, yeah. And part of that comes with like experience over time and developing those skills as you also get more confident. And you're able to like be like, oh yeah, no, I do make good. The same thing with this podcast. I am very proud of this podcast. As someone who I've gone back and listened to a bunch of the old episodes recently, and I really like, I'm biased, but like I think it's really good, and I'm very proud of like the body of work that we've done.
Yeah, this is all him. Like I just provide my voice, and he just does he just does the magic.
No. That's not. No, you don't get to do that.
Oh, okay.
You contribute creatively. You come up with ideas. You show up, and there's value in that too. And like you're one half of this. I cannot do it without you.
Okay. I'm just giving you your flowers of the behind the scenes stuff that people don't look at. You're like the mastermind. You're like Houdini. You're like Steven Spielberg with behind the scenes. And I just want to make sure I acknowledge that.
That's
I can't do the shit that you do.
That's totally
that's
fair.
what I'm getting at. But yeah, you're right. Thanks for calling me out on that. Like just being yes, I have my contributions, but I'm acknowledging your gifts. So,
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. It's
Thank you as well.
We see it in sports all the time, right? Where like you have this like perfect, like the Jamal Murray Joker 2-man game. Like they're not the same player, right? They don't bring the same things to the table, but they're like unstoppable when they play together because they have complementary skills and they each, have their own like niche that they contribute to. And together, I mean, they literally won the chip. Like,
I'm just still laughing at Joker's like catapulting shot.
Yeah.
It's great.
But anyway, basically to say that like I came back and I started working on it again, and I like all of the muscle memory came back pretty quick, and like I'm doing it. I mean, I'm not going to make any promises as to like when any of this stuff is going to come out, but like I think it's coming along really well, and like I feel like it's better than what I've done previously because I feel like I've improved. When you practice something, you improve over time. In theory, it doesn't always work that way. It's not always a straight line.
Also, seeing our podcast, like just how our stuff flowed and stuff, like that improved.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like segments that just like kind of like came about and stuff.
Yeah,
like Deetalks was like this type of segment was not part of like the first 10, 15 episodes or something.
Yeah,
and then all of a
we
sudden,
just stumbled into it over time. And I mean, that's part of also like being like creative and open-minded, right? Is like you experiment with things. And we definitely tried some things over the years that didn't work and that we stopped doing. I really tried to push the like reading comment sections because that's my shit. And like, it's kind of been hit or miss. Like some of them have been funny, but some of them have just been like total duds and I end up cutting them.
I think now I think a lot more people are even now more than ever on YouTube. So like, there's like some great gems out there, man.
Yeah,
you just gotta find the right video, and then like it writes itself.
Yeah. But anyway, that is more or less my message, and my incredibly long-winding message is that we took a long time off, and I feel like this recording flowed very naturally. I feel like our muscle memory came back pretty quick. This
was like, I was nervous about like wanting to, kind of do the podcast stuff because I'm like, can I still do this? And all you gotta do is just start talking, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now we can't stop. We have to like eventually stop ourselves from talking. Or we're gonna be here all night.
I know, yeah.
We gotta go to work in the morning.
I know, yeah. I do not even want to say what time it is right now. But yeah, and I mean, like, that is like, that's the other thing I would say is like, because like people will always tell you like, you're special and you're unique and there's no one in the world like you. And
that's mostly true because there's one you. Even if you had a twin, you're uniquely you. Nobody could ever be you.
And I mean, literally nobody can ever have the literal exact same like DNA or whatever that you do. But like, I think that's a little, I don't know. I over the years have like found that a little condescending because like they're
little Mickey Mousey.
Yeah.
Like Little Wonderland.
There's millions of people in the world who have the same, more or less a similar personality to mine, the same kind of like cynical, detail-oriented, analytic, neurotic bullshit that I do. There's people in the world that look like me. There's people in the world who walk the same way I do. There's people in the world who, whatever. Again, there's 8 billion of us just about. Like, they're every combination that you can think of exists already. But I'm the only person in the world that could have written Push the Button or Headache.
Or James Harden's face.
Or James Harden's face.
Or F It Let's Play, which is my personal favorite.
Yes. And you're the only person in the world who can do Deetalks.
I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Just as an example.
I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I have stuff to say that you have stuff to say. Everybody has a story, and everybody has stuff they go through.
Yeah,
that was just a testament of like, hey, I have to like let this out. Here's an outlet for that.
And that is the key to producing art and producing like creative things is to realize that what you bring to the table is your uniqueness in that way.
And you know what's crazy? Like, I could care less if like anyone like hears this or finds these. I mean, I do care. Like, I care about you guys too. Like, the more the merrier. But it would not even close to the end of the world if no one ever heard these. Because I think about this. I've been thinking like, like my mortality and stuff as of late, and just like, I imagine myself in like, say I'm in my 40s or 50s, or I'm in my 70s. This is art that we've created that we can go back to.
Yeah.
These are memories. If nothing else, these are memories that cannot be taken away from us. That I can always go back to and laugh at, or think, critically of, or cry or with our whatever. And it's just nice to have something like this that we can just go towards.
Yeah.
And be like, we created this.
And that thing of like, when you look back and like the old cliche of like, you can't take any of your money with you when you die. Like,
that's true.
You can lose everything in life, but the memories, especially obviously of good times, and fun, interesting things that you've done or said or did or experienced.
Even the bad ones have adventures. They have
their value. Absolutely. They can become funny stories that you tell on a podcast.
Yeah.
Those really, over the years, like that really kind of is all you have left. And like, I've been like, I've personally like had like a lot of just loss over the last, number of years. And like, I've had lifelong friendships like end suddenly and without like reason.
Preach.
I've had relationships end. I've had jobs, that I moved on from. Even just like moving houses. And all of those things. And ultimately, memories are like all you have from all those things.
Yeah, man.
And that's why like I try to sort of like you said earlier, the little things. The opportunity to create those memories, I think, is, and as I get older and older, I like lean more into this of like, again, years from now, that's all you're going to have from this. So would you rather do that or like, watch Twitch all night? Like, and even that could be making memories if something funny happened. But,
oh my gosh, that's so. I mean, to this day, the Big John with the Rapper playthrough. That was like 2015.
Yeah. But like, just as an example, and then we'll get out of here finally. But like a few months ago, you guys called me up like out of the blue on a Friday or Saturday or something, and were like, "Do you want to go to this like indie wrestling show tonight?"
Oh, the Friday, yeah.
In like a couple hours from now, and that is the kind of thing that like, I'm serious. Like 2015 me probably would have been like, that sounds awesome, but like I'm tired and I want to go home and like,
which would have been valid.
Valid in some cases. But I was like, this is just something interesting and unique that's going to stick out in my head years from now, even if it sucks.
F it, let's play.
Yeah. It's funny how that was like a scratch title for that song and it's become like a slogan.
That's going to be true. I think I'm going to make that my slogan.
Yeah.
Make it my mantra.
Yeah. We'll get like stickers printed.
Watch I just go to the extreme, just put it on my back.
Yeah, get like a tattoo. But yeah, and so I went and like I had a great time and now I have a great memory. And that is a result of all of that, partly a result of just all of that hard work I've done over the years of like all of that getting to a place where you can like allow yourself to be happy, to prioritize yourself, to experience something and not feel guilt, like all of that.
You give yourself a chance.
Yes.
Oh, when we were off the mic, I'm just thinking about this. I was singing the song, Notorious B.I.G. Biggie, give me one more chance. In every choice, you're giving yourself one more chance.
Yeah.
Each time, one more. That's momentum.
Yep. We'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight, coming to our show, and hanging out with us. I hope that, our return finds you well, finds you in good health and spirits and all that good stuff.
It wasn't a silent return like, dang, what's my name? What's the guy's name? Hendrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's a great song.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And Along the Watchtower.
Yeah. And Voodoo Child.
But that's the same one.
And
Voodoo Child Silent Return, yeah.
And Manic Depression. Speaking of Manic Depression.
Ooh.
He was ahead of his time.
For real.
We've had a great time tonight. I love doing this. It makes me so happy. It like improves my life so much.
Same here. This was definitely a ripping good time.
Yeah.
Ripping edition for real.
I think every like long running thing like this always runs the risk of like getting too introspective, but like just to say that like I truly believe that this show is a force for good, and I hope
it definitely is. It spreads love, man.
Spread love. And I will also say, the other magic of the moment we live in is that our files have been put on the internet, which means they will literally never go away. They will be on the Wayback Machine somewhere. They will be in somebody's server somewhere. And they will literally never go away. Even if our computers and all of Google's servers crash and we lose everything, they will still be out there because it's the internet and nothing ever leaves the internet.
I just think of like if I like pass on or something, and then like survived by like my spouse or like my loved ones, and then they and then what they have left is like me and photographs and then recordings like this, and like. Wow, like what the heck? Like he's like, wow, that was dope, or like, wow, what the hell was he saying? But either way, it's just like good because it's just like a connection of what's left, and it's like a legacy there. So
yeah, and you never know somebody might be fucking scrolling through YouTube at some point and they just click on this video by accident. That's the other. So Google, in our time doing this show, has gone through like 3 or 4 different podcasting platforms that they've like started and then sunset. And they finally just folded all that stuff into YouTube. So it is incredibly easy. YouTube only needs the RSS feed and then it auto-generates all the videos for you. So we are live on our own YouTube channel, which has existed, and I used to manually create the videos, and then I quit doing it because it was too time consuming. But every episode we do will now be automatically uploaded to YouTube, so you can also find us there.
YouTube Music, because like I use that. That's my music app of choice.
And you know what? You're probably listening to us on iTunes or Spotify. And you know what? Go to YouTube. Listen to this episode again. You know, why not?
You know what's the story? Since we're on YouTube, it'll take some work, but we do a YouTube proof of our stuff.
Talk about like a useless skill that I would still love to cultivate.
Like someone like CJ Flow, like YouTube groups or podcasts.
Yeah.
That's when we could just like retire. We're like, okay, this is the pinnacle. This is the creme de la creme of like our achievement. It's done. This is retiring with a ring.
Yep. Yes. Retiring on top.
It's like that's our Super Bowl for real.
Yeah. But anyway, and also too, another note is that the song that you're listening to right now is called The Jams. And that song was officially released a few weeks ago. So you can also find that. If you just Google Deviation Notice, I mean, it's all out there.
Sorry, go ahead.
You know where to find all this crap.
I just love how the jams got like longer and longer and longer. It's just that loop just got longer because it just
our like ending segments now are like so sprawling that like it's a 3-minute song and I usually have to loop it like 2 or 3 times now.
That infamous intro I told you about from Remember the Game. This is like our infamous outro.
It is. Yeah. It's also going to be funny combing through this for like weird, funny things to put in the stingers. Although in
stingers, like Sting, the Stinger Splash.
Yeah.
There you go.
Although it's funny towards the end of our like original run.
End of Your Rope.
I'm also in a hardcore band called End of Your Rope.
There you go. Shameless plug right there.
Oh yeah. we have a music video. I've had so much like funny things that I literally would create a segment at the end with like 4 or 5 stingers in a row of just weird, funny things that we said.
That makes me think of like Botchamania. He like the person like the creator like will put like a bunch of like stingers at the end that's like outside of like the main like Botchamania video.
Yeah.
But it's just like tacked on at the end, and people submit like endings and stuff like that. So it's just like awesome. So.
But yeah, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you for being here. Hope you're well. Take care. All that good stuff. And give us all of the engagement on social media because that is true value in life. I'm kidding.
Well, what's your... I always love when you do this.
Oh yeah. We can't ever forget that. I wish I could just hug you all. I'm not gonna.
But someday he will.
Take care, everybody.
Peace out, everybody.
I like that I'm pointing at the screen like you can see me. Good night, everyone.
And I'm throwing the double peace signs like I'm like from Japan or Nixon.
Nobody is Nixon.
No one wants to be Nixon.
What if you were Bo Nixon?
Is that like you do like the Richard Nixon pose, but you just have like the that flat top hair and then the eye guards, the eyeshadow stuff?
No, he comes out and he like throws an interception and then goes like, "My coach is not a crook."
Oh, jeez.
We we really like to keep it political here. Next week on Young Sheldon.
I need to
By the
watch
way,
Apparently
that show...
That's been doing the damn thing, yo.
By the way, that show came out, and it was like 3 years before I realized that it was supposed to be Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. Like, I just thought it was just a show about some random kid named Sheldon.
I mean, it stands on its own. The show stands on its own.
I think Asian airline called Scoot. They had like bright yellow planes. Their planes were all painted like banana yellow. And
What are like the taxis in the sky?
I don't know. But they were like, in like a cheap, they were kind of like Spirit. They were like a cheap, like cut rate airline. And one of their like sales slogans was everything must go, including you.
I don't know if that's clever or like a threat.
They're actually the mob.
It's like, we specialize in one-way tickets.
Oh, man. This is all getting cut. But just to say that I listened, like in editing, I remember listening to that. I was like, I can't post any of this. Cut. That's why that first episode was only 40 minutes.